A little pep to our step.
Yeah.
We're not peppy enough today. We're not peppy. We're just too steppy.
I don't know. I feel real peppy. I feel a lot of peppy. It's
You
only
know,
my peppy, but it's a lot of peppy that I feel.
She touched my peppy, Steve.
on that note, welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast by filmmakers talk movies, television, and never read the fine print. I'm your host. We're going streaking.
I'm not your host. He's on fire.
Yeah, I
And
am.
I am your other guy. Can't stop now, and we won't stop now.
That's what I say when I'm a buffet line. Woo, can't stop. In this week's episode, we're going to do actor win streak. So we did tackle director ones. Now we wanted to tackle male actors. We're going to do another one later. It's going to be female actors because let's just be honest, there's way too many actors that we wanted to go through and talk about, but we kind of had to separate a little bit. Otherwise, it's just too much. It's too much to pile on, and we want to give everybody their flowers. So this one, we're focusing on just male actors. If you want to see our director ones, you can see it somewhere here where they can see it, the tag, the link.
Follow the link.
Follow the leader. But first, we're going to hit you with the current event.
All right. So it recently came out that Jordan Peele was in discussions with Disney regarding an MCU project. But rumor is it did not work out. Nothing came out of it. And both sides have, at least temporarily, gone their separate ways. What are your guys' thoughts on, first of all, it falling apart, but then also what kind of project can you see Jordan Peele doing within the MCU? We'll start with you on this one, Dan.
So I read, I don't know if it was, but X-Men.
That's what I read too.
Yes. Now, if it would have been X-Men, first of all, I'm a fan of Jordan Peele. I like his movies. We've already talked enough about it, but like I really love Nope. I know some people don't, but I love Nope. I think he would be amazing for it. I think he would have got, especially if we're talking about the X-Men that already deals with a lot of like racial, right? Like a lot of
Discrimination.
discrimination. Getting somebody like Jordan Peele who always has that as an undertone to his movies, I thought is perfect. We love X-Men 97, and we had somebody of color that was being a showrunner for it, and it definitely read because it felt like as they were dealing with the storylines, it felt more authentic. I feel like if we need somebody like that behind the helm of X-Men, I think we should. If we get somebody of color, they're going to understand the plight a little more. They're going to understand the struggles, the discrimination. I feel like that would only help enhance the storylines and the undertones and the nonverbal cues of the actors, the characters, the shots, the pacing, the timing, the political statements that are being made. There's a lot that could be done with that, and I feel like that would have been amazing for it. I would have been totally on board with it. I'm sad that he's not. It makes me wonder why, because if he's willing to meet with them, is it just he's doing it out of respect? Like his agent said, "Hey, out of respect, go meet, with Disney and Marvel," and he had no intention of doing it, or is it because he had this idea and because it's Disney and Marvel, they're saying we can't just let you do your own thing, like we have to supervise it? Most likely is probably what it was, and that sucks because again, I feel like they didn't have their hands all over X-Men 97, and it was amazing.
Well, here's what I'll say to that. There's two things. One, they already got a writer tied on for the X-Men movie. So my speculation, since he's very much tied to the writing of the things that he directs and produces, I could see it being like, well, I want to write the script, kind of like what happened with Ben Affleck and the Batman. He wanted to write and direct, but they weren't going to give him that much power, so it ended up becoming a no-go. So I could see that happening with him, where it's like, well, I want to write and direct it. It's like, well, we got a guy already. He's on contract. He's already written something. We can't really have you do that. Do you mind just coming on and being like, no, I'm good. Other thing is, I was always under the impression that I'm pretty sure there's an interview somewhere where he said he didn't want to do superhero films or do any IPs, that he wanted to do strictly original stories. So I was surprised in general that he was even having a meeting. So I could see it just being like you said, it was just like, I'll be nice, I'll hear them out, but it's probably not going to happen. Third point, I think he should do something more within the Midnight Suns category. Something with like a Blade, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider. Like, I'd love to see him in that world since he has tackled horror in a decent way. And you could still have those civil rights, discrimination stuff. Just like the vampire stuff. Blade's having trouble. Throw him in there. Let him fix that whole situation right now. I think he would crush it with that thing. It'll have the nice light moments that it needs. It'll have all of the action and horror. I think he would handle that perfectly.
Yeah, I agree. Like if I had to speculate, I would think it came down to creative differences and creative restrictions. You know, we've heard before in stories where a lot of time Disney has its vision for the MCU. They have a blueprint. The directors have to kind of fall within that blueprint because these are not one-off movies. So you can't just throw something in that's gonna mess up and knock down the dominoes for other projects that they have, especially of that full-term vision. So I can see that going in where it's like, okay, look, this is the idea we have, but you have to fit within this mold, within this bracket. And from all the interviews I've seen from Peele, you know, like George said, he wants to be part of the whole creative process. He wants to add a level of originality and not cookie cutter stuff in his projects, whether it fits into the general audience or it doesn't. You know, it's his vision for things. So I can see that being in conflict with what Disney and MCU's vision is going forward, and then them just being like, okay, this isn't gonna work out. We both have different ideas on what we're gonna do. I kind of like Jordan Peele just kind of sticking with what he's doing now because we in a world now where we get nonstop reboots, remakes, rehashes, reimaginings, and everything, he hasn't given us that. Everything that he's given him has been his own thing, and it's something different that you can attach. So if you start pulling him into some of those like big properties and remakes and all of that aspects, we're losing another director that's giving us some of the things we're not getting overall, which is originality.
Yeah. You know where I think he would be helpful, honestly, for them, so we could still get the Peel we like while they still get a piece of him too? His production side. Because where he produces, like, you look at movies like Candyman or The Twilight Zone, even Lovecraft Country, each of those had its high points, and he's not directing it. He's just in the background producing and help navigating the script. So his hands are in it, but not in a way where like that he feels that he necessarily has to be in full control. So you still get a little bit of you get a taste of the Peel essence without having to have him be taken away from what we love.
So let's get into our main topic. So the way that we're going and the way that we're counting this, in case you haven't seen a director's streak episode, is that we're going. It has to be at least 3 consecutive movies that are considered
Feature
great.
films.
Feature
Yeah.
films, right?
Yeah.
Can't be short films. Can't count commercials.
No TV
Can't count
shows.
anything.
No
No
music
TV shows.
videos.
No music
Oh,
videos.
damn it.
I know. I know. I know. All right.
Michael
So
Jackson has a streak.
yes, he does. So that's why. So this one's hard because it could be box office success, right, or performance, right, like critical success, something that we deem as great. So of course that's always subjective, but when it comes to box office success, it's a little easier to kind of define that. But that's not just what we're sticking with. But the hard thing about this is, as I was looking through this list, like naturally, there's a lot of actors I wanted to go, and it's so hard when you get an actor like, let's say, I wanted to do Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was one that I wanted. I also really liked. I wanted to also throw in a curveball with either Robin Williams or Jim Carrey, and the streak wasn't there, man. The fact that they were doing so many movies, they had like a good couple, but then the one before and the one after, I'm like, look, you guys know full well. I'll try to finagle sometimes, and I'll try to find a little bit of gray areas. If you're gonna let me wiggle, I'll wiggle. I couldn't wiggle off of
And the
those ones.
loophole de sangre.
And the loophole, Daniel, the
I'm gonna
loophole de
well,
sangre.
I was like, I have a Jim Carrey on my list.
Do you?
I found a loophole.
Okay, so there's some where you could look, but like I just couldn't. I'm like, because it's movies that I'm like I just didn't love, and
This is where
it's
the subject,
it's
when you're not going box office, when you're including some quality in there,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's when the subjectiveness does kick in.
it does. So was there? So let's start off with that question. What are some of the actors that you guys really wanted to list that you guys just couldn't? You guys couldn't find it.
Well, we talked
Uh,
about it earlier. I wanted Tom Hardy also,
I
Oh,
did look at
okay.
Tom
and
Hardy.
and I
I did
couldn't
too.
find the
Denzel. I looked at Denzel, and there
yeah. I
was
looked at
always one
Denzel.
movie that jumped in the way. It just busted
Yes.
up the streak. That's why I
I
think three is important. It's like
Yeah,
if you put it in sports term, you can have back-to-back champions. When you get three, you're a dynasty.
yeah. You
yes.
know who was
In
really hard that
basketball.
seemed obvious? Tom Hanks.
Yes. Yes.
Tom Hanks. I
Because
was like, he's gonna be easy, and then there'll be one film. It's like, where'd that
yes.
come from? Where?
See, and here's what's hard about that is they could have filmed him in whichever order. So he could have
Yeah.
had 3
Yeah.
streak going, but it's the way that the company, it's the way that the production company distributes it. Like they could have done him in different orders, and sometimes they're waiting for that summertime to release it. It's like,
Yep.
damn it, because I looked at Tom Hanks too. It was hard, man. So like it was hard.
We
That's the way
ran
that I
into this with the directors too, where it was like
yes.
some
Yeah.
big time directors where
Yeah.
we're like, easy, and we're like, oh no, why did you do that one? You
Yes.
could have had 5 in a row, but you
Yeah.
that third one in there.
Yes, man. I was looking at Antonio Banderas, like I was looking at him, like I was even looking for John Leguizamo. I'm
Yeah.
come on, John, come on, you got something in there. And I'm looking, I'm like,
I was looking for
dang
Oscar
it.
Isaac also.
Yes, I
Because
did
I was like,
too.
because no, it is it's these actors who
Yep.
like I think in our minds and our hearts we put on a certain pedestal and we
Yeah.
see what they bring to the table and we forget like, well, they were good, but the
Yes.
movie wasn't good, unfortunately. And they shined
Yes.
so much that I forget the thing flopped.
Exactly. That's what it is. And it's kind of hard to justify that a little bit,
Wh-
yeah.
which I feel adds extreme value, and you have to tip the cap when you have actors that maybe have 4, 5, 6 in a row,
Yeah.
because it's so hard to
Yes.
find actors that get 3. So if they're expanded beyond that, it's like, here's your flowers, respect, sir.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into our first one. I'm gonna go first.
No,
I want to
You
make
son of
sure.
you son of a bitch.
I
good
never go
grief.
first on any of these, and I'm gonna do it on this one, okay? Just because I love this actor and I don't want you guys to claim him, okay?
Okay.
It's gonna be
Uh,
one of mine, isn't it?
it probably Leo DiCaprio.
Damn it.
Son of a.
Yes, he's got a long one. Okay,
That's what she said.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'll just pick the 3 that I thought was really great, and it's gonna be The Wolf of Wall Street with Jordan Belfort.
Yep.
That one, The Revenant, where he finally won his Oscar, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So that little streak that he did right there, phenomenal. Now he has some before that, and there's a good run in there, but I'll leave that up to you guys. But
Wait, before you continue, your run that you have those 3,
yeah,
uh, right before that, he had The Great Gatsby and then
Yep.
Django Unchained right
yep,
Uh-huh.
before that one. So
yep,
it's actually a 5 streak.
Yeah.
exactly. And then even before that, if you want to include J. Edgar, he has Inception, Shutter Island, Revolutionary Road. Like that's the long list.
Yeah.
But
Well, here's the list that I got it though. From
okay,
2002 to 2019, he's had 15
yes,
films where
yes.
either they all made money and they were
Mm-hmm.
all critically were accepted well. Like in none of these films was his performance ever put down. If there was one that was a small thing, was like Blood Diamond, but it still was a box office
Yeah.
success. So like
Yes,
he hasn't failed for that long.
yes,
I
That's
think
ridiculous.
I think for me, J. Edgar is the one that broke that streak.
yes.
From 2002 and stuff, it was J. Edgar that broke the streak for me. That's what divided the 2 streaks. But go on, man.
Yes. Yes. So exactly. J. Edgar's the one for me, but he was still critically praised for his
Exactly.
acting, and I think he was nominated, wasn't he? Or at least
Yeah.
like
It
Emmy
was
or something. Like he was still nominated for some of that work. So that's why it's kind of hard for me to go with that big streak because I'm trying to go with what I love. But like Wolf of Wall Street, I freaking love that movie. It's one of my, if not my favorite Scorsese movie. Even though the dude has so many, I just love a Wolf of Wall Street that much. And I thought, I mentioned on a bunch of other episodes why I think it is because it feels like one of the more unscorsese like Scorsese movies because it still feels like Scorsese, but he didn't do a lot of the tricks and things that he normally does. He didn't do a lot of the storylines and hit stuff that we've seen him hit a lot and a lot of themes. This one was so different, and he did a lot of camera tricks that was very different for him that I appreciate. But the fact that Wolf of Wall Street was one that Leo was always assigned to, and he's the one that optioned the book and helped get it made from beginning to start. His performance resonates so much. He was so great in it. It introduced us to Margot Robbie, but like I love Wolf of Wall Street so much. And then you hit us with The Revenant, which finally got him the Oscar win that he should have had forever.
yeah.
Leo, in my opinion, is the best working actor right now. He's like where the Tom Hanks was, back then where Tom Hanks was like the dude. Leo to me is the dude. He definitely deserves way more Oscars than he already has. Just the one is criminal the fact that it only has one. But again, a lot of it's hard because who are you competing against at the time? And some of the ones that, even though he gave a great performance, like I understand why Matthew McConaughey got it that one year. I can understand why some of these people get it during the some years, but it just sucks. But the guy has been so steady, so streaky, so ready. And what the thing that I appreciate about Leo is that he wants to willingly work with the great directors. He's never been one to just do cash grabs. He's never been one to do a movie just because he feels like he needs to focus on his name and his popularity. He doesn't care. He's always doing movies, and he wants to work with great talent. So even when we see him doing the Tarantinos, it's like, man, like he's starting to get into his groove with Tarantino. But like, is he the Scorsese guy or is he the Spielberg guy? Like, we don't know. Like every
He's all
great
the
director,
guys.
He's all the
he's
guy.
all the
Yeah.
guy. He's all the
Yeah.
guy.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
He's the NASS guy, okay? He's the freaking NASS guy. We love this guy. We love Leo. I can sit here and waste our entire episode just giving the guy the flowers, so I won't. So I'll pass the baton over to you guys.
And it's funny, I would like to point out, because like I said, I had a streak from 2002 to 2010, starting with Gangs of New York up to Inception. When J. Edgar Hoover kind of broke the streak for me, and then Django all the way up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the 212 to 219. But one funny that I noticed is he had a pattern going starting in 2002, where he would take a year off, 2 bangers in 1 year. Take a year off, 2 bangers in one
Yeah.
year. Take a year off, 2 bangers in 1 year. He did that. He had 2004, 2006, 2008, 2010, releasing 2 bangers each year with a break in between to let the audience miss him.
He's also doing that with 23-year-old models as well. Took a year off,
Got him.
2 bangers in the same year.
The only reason I kept J. Edgar in there and made that streak as solid as it was is because, like I said, like critically, it still got the acceptance from people. It did get nominations for awards. And money-wise, like while it wasn't necessarily a box office hit of like a Wolf of Wall Street or something like that, it still made money. So for me, like I looked at it as like if it made over twice than what it cost to make the movie, then they were successful. That's how I pretty much took it. If you made even, it's like, okay, you didn't make it. You're out, So that's why I kept it in there. It wasn't considered like a flop by any means. So to me, it's like, hey, that's still a success. It didn't tarnish his name. We've had some actors where like you have that one bad film and then they're starting to get second guessed. He hasn't been second. To be really honest, we're gonna keep it a buck. He's been celebrated his whole life. There really hasn't been many films before like Basketball Diaries and stuff like that. Like he's always been like a guy where like it's been on lookout.
There was just a switch and stuff where he went
pivot,
from being
yeah.
just looked at as the heartthrob to legit actor.
Yeah. We
I-
talked about it before. It was those two directors. You work with Spielberg and Scorsese, and for me, I was that guy. I was like, this guy's nothing. Then all of a sudden, Catch Me If You Can pops out, and I'm like, oh, I see you. I see you now.
Yeah, so I've been a fan of him because like I loved I thought he was great in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I thought he was like one of the shining things of that, and I thought he was amazing.
But he went
in
full
it.
retard. You don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then I thought he did really good in This Boy's Life. I love This Boy's Life. Like I'll still go back and rewatch it sometimes. Him and De Niro are freaking awesome in it. He's great in Basketball Diaries. Like I thought Mark Wahlberg
Even
did good in that.
Beach, which is a thriller.
I like Beach,
I
man.
I like the
like
beach.
Beach.
I like the beach. Yeah,
I like it too, man. Like Tilda Swinton's in it. Like
Yeah.
he's great in that movie. So I liked him. I always thought, that when he did Titanic, I understand why he did Titanic, because not only did he want to work with James freaking Cameron, like of course he wants to do that movie, and it's still a good movie. You can't say it's a bad movie. Like Cameron
It's
did
not
a
like
good job.
Avatar.
Like Cameron knew what he was doing with this, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew he was pulling the string. It's basically like when you hear a pop star doing a pop music, right? Like Michael Jackson. We love it and we know what he's doing. It's a commercial hit, but you're doing it so successfully that you still have to give props because there's still a genre of doing popular stuff, because we've seen people do it and fail miserably at doing it. James Cameron played it perfectly. But then with that came all the heartthrob and all that stuff. You saw the switch with DiCaprio, and I appreciate the fact that he didn't like that. He wasn't about that. He wasn't trying to jump on those teen heartthrob, magazine. He wasn't trying to play that game.
Yeah. just jumping at post teens, but not on the.
Yes, exactly, right? There's a
Yeah.
difference there.
So for mine, I'm gonna go with mostly blockbuster box office success, and I'm gonna go with Will Smith
Yeah.
and his
Good.
95 to 98 streak, where he pretty much was known as Mr. Summer Blockbuster for a while there. Starting with Bad Boys in 95, then the next year we had Independence Day, all releasing in July too, I
Yep.
believe, or end of June. Then the next year, 97, we had Men in Black. Then the next year after, this one critically was received well, and I feel it's underrated, even though it didn't have the box office numbers. But then in 98, we had Enemy of the State.
Yeah.
Felt that was a good streak of you had action, you had sci-fi, and you had like thriller. So you had a mix inside of there, and financially successful movies, and then critically, well accepted movies on top of that. After that, I think Wild Wild West came out. After that, it just kind of destroyed the streak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
After that, that's one that kind of tarnishes a little bit what you're doing.
Yeah.
But before that, that 4 years in a row, it was Big Willie style in the summer, pretty much all the time.
What makes Wild Wild West even more painful is what he passed up to do
Yeah.
it.
What could have been when
Yeah.
Because that streak would have been probably the greatest streak we've ever seen.
But that's the question. Would it have? Or, what movie
I
would that have
think
been if Will Smith was a part of it?
I know.
That
I
is
still
that
think
is
it would
true.
have been great though. Maybe not as maybe, but who knows? But it still would have been a
Because you
banger,
got to
man.
question if he's Neo, who's Morpheus? Because think like Hollywood. Hollywood's
Yeah.
not going to have those two big black actors
Two.
together.
Yeah.
They
Morpheus
had
is now
some. We
someone
we talked
else.
about it in our
They
episode. They
had
had someone
somebody else.
He
else,
did have
And
someone
it was
else.
a
Yeah.
white guy.
and it was someone that was white
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
weren't gonna
Yeah.
have
So
them
maybe
both.
they wouldn't have brought that gravitas, that
True.
Fishborn. Like Fishborn was Morpheus. I can't see anyone else as
Yes.
Morpheus.
No,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's that
He
voice
crushed
he
that role.
has. Yeah, man. But
Oh,
yeah.
and I will throw to add to the streak. He also threw in a hit song with Men in Black that I remember was
Yeah.
being played
Oh yeah.
everywhere,
Everywhere.
just for the
Yeah.
heck of it. Here you go.
It's probably one of the best made for movie songs, right? That
Yeah.
literally mentioning the movie in the
And this,
song
yeah,
that we've
next to
ever had.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, exactly, exactly like that. Like those have got to be one of the top tier, like the Mount Rushmore of made for movie songs, you know. So good. That'd actually be a pretty good episode. But
Right.
right.
Jotting it
All right,
down.
yeah. All right,
All right.
George.
Well, thank God none of you guys said my guy. I'm obviously gonna go with Tom Cruise because that's my boy. And
He
Tom
was on
Cruise
mine.
from
I
from
thought
my
one of you
thing,
guys were. That's why I didn't even.
he had 3 streaks that noted on. So we got from 83 to 90, and my thing is gonna be it's a combination. I'm doing the blockbuster and the critical. That way I can get a nice good bouquet of streak in here. But from 83 to 90, he had 11 films. From 92 to 06, he had 15 films.
Jesus.
And then from 2012 to 2023, he had 10 films, in which that last film was Dead Reckoning. So he can keep it going. The streak isn't over yet. I've loved Tom Cruise forever. I will constantly freaking praise this guy. He's an obvious superstar, but at times he's kind of like underrated because he's definitely been seen as just the action hero. Like he is the epitome of action hero now.
Mhm.
But people forget like how great of an actor he also is to make it all believable. So for me, like growing up, like Risky Business, who doesn't love Risky Business? That freaking slide on the socks has been repeated over and
It's
over again.
iconic.
Yeah, like that showed that he had the ability to carry a film because he was so young. He was like, what,
Mhm.
21, 20-ish? Like
Yeah.
he's a baby,
Yeah.
and he's carrying this film all on his own. And that was, I don't remember who the director was for that. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Big film. Legend showed that he could be in a fantasy film. Now, granted, Legend, this is where I started kind of finagling things because Legend
I
was
feel you did a lot of finagling with these like 10-year streaks.
because
15 movie streaks.
so
Like there's got to
you
be
want to
one
know
of
how
them.
I did it, Dan? You want to know
Oh.
how I pulled it off?
Oh.
Cult classics. So over time, Legend became a cult classic, and it's become a huge film because when it came out, it wasn't as well received.
Mhm.
But over time, it's kind of like Blade Runner. Blade Runner came out, that was a flop. But in this day and age, are we calling Blade Runner a flop? No.
Okay.
Blade Runner is one of the
Okay.
greatest films ever.
So let me ask you that then, because when we talk about cult movies, are we also considering just great films that they were in? Because, and the reason why I say this is because the movie Legend, I feel like what became so iconic with the movie Legend was Tim Curry and his outfit and the Satan and the horns and the look and all that stuff.
It
Wasn't
is the
necessarily
set.
because
It's
Tom
that.
Cruise
It's the setting and
being in
everything.
it.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
definitely, because that was Ridley Scott, I believe,
Yeah.
who did Legend.
Yep. So his
So
performance wasn't legendary or great in it necessarily, right? But that's what we start finagling. But for the sake of the episode, let's not
George
be
loopholed
semantics
the
here.
crap out of this
Yeah.
hey
one.
man,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Wiggle
I
it.
I knew that you guys would respect
Yes. Yes.
my angle at this.
Yeah.
All right, as
Yeah.
two guys will find a way to get that extra in there. I
We're
was
gonna
like, they're
Jurassic
gonna
Park.
That life finds a way.
exactly, and that's what it is. That's how certain things got into my list. Which is like I'm looking at it. It's like, but everyone everyone I've talked to when it comes to Legend, like it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, Legend. I love Legend growing up, and like
I do
everyone
too.
like I watch Legend every
Yeah.
once in a year.
Yeah.
So like that's how that ended up in there. But like it shows variety. He's early in his career, he's already trying different things. He's not
Yeah.
afraid to try something that's against the cuff. You look at his acting with like Rain Man and Born in the 4th of July.
And
Like it's like,
Magnolia.
well, that's way later on. Yeah. But just
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
early streak,
Oh, earlier,
this is
yeah.
him like showing like, yo, I got the right stuff.
Mhm.
I deserve to be within this category of actor that deserves awards. And it's kind of like amazing that he didn't get any awards earlier in his career. Just nothing. But then we hit that 15 film streak. Freaking Interview the Vampire, Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire. Those were all back to back films right there.
Yeah.
None of those films are the same film. We got
And then he had A
a
Few Good
horror
Men in there
drama.
somewhere,
We
right?
got if A Few Good Men was like 2 years before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the
So even
action
with
film.
that one, he held his own against Jack Nicholson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you already holding your own against him. He was like a 2-time Oscar winner.
Well,
You're
that's the
holding your
thing.
scene.
We
Yeah.
talk about Leo, right? And Leo
Yeah.
works with big directors. Tom Cruise has been working with big directors since the beginning. He's worked with
Exactly.
both the Scott brothers. He's worked with not Brian De Palma, frickin' Francis Ford Coppola. He worked with frickin' Oliver Stone.
Spielberg.
Like Spielberg. He's worked with all the big guys too, and that's all he works with. He doesn't work with schlumps. He's not here to be with the guy who's not going to elevate him. He wants to be with the person who's going to bring that level of dedication that he brings to the screen.
He always feels like a blockbuster actor, right? He's one that seeks out and only going to do blockbuster films. That's why he demands that his movies, when they come out, that they're the ones being played on IMAX. Like he demands the stage, he demands his presence like that. But I'm actually okay with that because that's how old Hollywood used to be ran, right? He has the mindset of old Hollywood, but I appreciate that because there's something antiquated in a positive way about that. There's something antique about that. There's something classic about that. Reminds you of the old, the silver screen, like it just adds to the Hollywood aura about him. And he's about that. When he was coming out, I've always liked him. I didn't know he had this in him. I didn't know he was this good when I was seeing some of his stuff. And maybe that's what Hollywood kind of saw when he was doing Risky Business. Like, oh, you're just the guy in the tantarans. You're the guy with the little chonies sliding across the screen, and doing that thing. Like, you're just that guy. He kind of had to earn his props the more he was doing. And I think as he kept doing that, then he started getting his praise for it. Magnolia is one of those ones that, like, I love Magnolia. I think he's phenomenal in that movie. I don't think he gets praise enough for it. Eyes Wide Shut. I love him in Eyes Wide Shut. I'm a huge fan of him as well, and I think even now he doesn't get enough of the props and the roses and the flowers and everything for his acting performance. And I think a lot of that is somewhat of himself because he does such the big Mission Impossible movies. He does so many action movies that some people label him as that, but man, the acting chops are there. Like I would love him to do
You know
more
who gives him the praise? NASS does. We did an
We do.
entire episode
exactly.
on Tom
Yeah, we
Cruise.
do. Which you can see in one of the video links right there. Another one.
Yeah. I had Tom Cruise. I looked at him. I didn't finagle the list really. So I looked at some of his earlier stuff and there was always something that stopped it as I was going through. But then the streak that I had here was a 7-movie streak between 92 and 99, starting with A Few Good Men, The Firm, then the ones you mentioned, Vampire, Mission Impossible, Jay Maguire, Eyes Wide Shut, and ending with Magnolia. And then there were some later on, but I'm like, Okay, I'm just repeating Mission Impossible
I was gonna
because
say, yeah,
they
you didn't count Mission Impossible 2. That made money. If you
oh,
go by
but I
box
just
office alone, it made a lot of
it's the
money.
only bad movie in the series, so like I couldn't include it. It's
It
the
hurts you.
only
It hurt you.
Yeah, it's the only this series has nailed every movie except the second one, which is
Yeah.
a feat on its own that has been able to do that. That I can't give credit for Mission Impossible 2 because if it wasn't for that movie, this would probably be the greatest action franchise. I mean, it probably still might be, but it might have been a flawless action franchise
What?
if it wasn't for
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Would have been flawless, but which one do we have to say is right now that hasn't had a dud?
John Wick.
John Wick.
John Wick.
John
Yeah.
Wick, man.
John
That
Wick
one
hasn't had
technically
a
is
Mission
flawless.
Impossible 2.
But you
No,
know
it
what?
never
If we're gonna,
has.
but just a quick argue though, because Mission Impossible 2, the only thing that makes it bad is the love story, in my opinion, and some of
There's
the
more.
reasoning of what's going on. But it's an action movie, and the action is good. I don't think
Yeah,
the
but
action in that movie was bad. It's the
no,
storyline that's trying to keep all the action together. So
it,
with
Yeah,
John Wick 4, the action is good, but did it have to be that long? I don't think so.
the
I think they
story the story is what separates Mission Impossible from Fast and the Furious.
yes,
I
yes, I
agree. I
agree.
agree. I agree. But I'm just saying, like, if John Wick 4 gets a pass for a movie that could have been cut down by an hour, in my opinion, like it got dragged on for too long. Like it's good stuff. I love it. But come on. You're just enjoying yourself at this point and
Okay,
not
Yeah, but
I can watch that ass kicking for an extra 30 minutes. If you
give
tell
me the
me.
extended bonus version. Give me the
like, I
Zack
want the
Snyder
director's cut.
version
I
of
want
it. There you go.
Yeah.
I think with Mission Impossible 2 though, it's like even the camera shots, like those technical things that I wasn't liking about it either. Like it just felt rough. Like when I was seeing it, I'm like, I don't know, like the pacing. Like I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but
yeah.
I felt like there was more than just that. And maybe the storyline kind of makes me soured, which is why I was starting to nitpick it more, maybe with the technical aspect. So you could be right. It could be the chicken and the egg.
Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
Tom Cruise gotta have him on there. Who's your
Yeah.
next
All
one
right.
then?
All right. The next one that I have, I gotta go with the box office champ for a while before even the Will Smith and all that. I gotta go Harrison Ford. So Harrison Ford had a good run in 1980. Star Wars Empire, right? So in my opinion, the best Star Wars. I think it's pretty consensus for the most part. I mean, some people may have their favorites, but I think for the most part, Empire Strikes Back is regarded as the best Star Wars movie. So he did that. 81, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So the first time we're getting the introduction of Indiana Jones. Then we get Blade Runner 1982. So even though, yes, when it came out, it maybe budget-wise it flopped originally, now it's definitely more than made up its money, and it's a classic.
So
Like
you
it's
went with the cult classic too. Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Because
cult
critically it
classic,
was
but
bad too.
exactly. Critically, it was bad, but it was, I mean, come on, man. This thing has sustained. Like,
Yeah.
it took a while for people to really wrap their heads around what it was that they were watching. And I think that made a big difference. And then you had the director's cut of it that you needed to kind of fill in some of the gaps and all that stuff. Then you have Star Wars, episode 6, of course, 83, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, 84, and then Witness in 1985, where he finally, the only Oscar nomination he's ever had. So even if you say I'm cheating by doing sequels, it's still Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, Blade Runner, and then Witness. So even if you take away the sequels to the other ones, you still have Witness, which was his Oscar nomination in 1985, and prove this guy can act. Like, rather than just being the action, charisma, kind of a-hole, kind of quippy attitude, he comes in with Witness and phenomenal. Then you had one right after that I was like, and then you had The Fugitive and all these other ones. Like, I wanted to make the streak longer, but I had to be fair with myself.
Out of the one,
No,
how to ruin it for
had
Fugitive.
to
Yeah.
ruin it, man, because I love The Fugitive. I thought he was phenomenal in that. Like him and Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones is a badass. Like Tommy Lee Jones is awesome, but man, Harrison Ford is just that dude. Like I know they had a Tom Selleck originally, was going to
Yeah.
be Indiana Jones, just because Lucas didn't want to work with Harrison Ford again because he felt like that's Han Solo. Man, that would have been an entirely different franchise. Like Tom Selleck would have done an okay job. Like I like Tom Selleck. He's cool. He would have played a very specific and more to the script. Harrison Ford, it's the same thing he does with Solo. It's like there's so many nonverbal cues, and he feels like he's above it like when you see him in the scenes, he feels like he's better than this stuff, and like it reads. And when he becomes that grumpy old man, like it reads because you could tell that's him behind the camera. Like that's who Harrison Ford is, man. Like he is Han Solo. He is that like Indiana Jones. Like he's grumpy. He feels like what Danny Glover says. Like I'm too old for this. Harrison Ford lives that. He
Has
felt like
always
been
been too old for
that's
this shit.
always been him, man. Like
Yeah.
so, Harrison Ford, I love the guy. He's one of my favorite actors, even though I don't think he's one of the best actors. He's still one of my favorite actors. Love the guy.
I bet once when he came out of the womb, they gave him a smack for him to cry. He was like, "I'm too old for this
Yeah, I'm
shit."
too old. I'm too old to be getting smacked.
Exactly.
Too old.
Yes, too old for it,
Yeah.
man.
For my streak for the next one, I had to go. This person had 5 movies in a 2 year span. Well, 2.5 year span. So I went with Matt Damon. So we had in '97, we had Good Will Hunting. Then he followed that with Saving Private Ryan. The next two after that, they weren't box office hits, but they built a good following, and people have really enjoyed them. Which we had Rounders in '98,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had Dogma in '99. And then the talented Mr. Ripley in '99. So I felt like that was a good streak of variety of genres and the type of movies that he did. He did high key and low key movies. He had box office hits, but he also had some that kind of built an underground following and people still kind of refer back to. So it was a nice little combination streak that we had there for Matt Damon.
That's a good one, man,
Yeah.
because that's the key is that with a lot of these greater actors, you have to show a level of versatility, right? Which is what you mentioned, George, with Tom Cruise. Like you have to show that ability. Obviously, we went at length about it with Leo. You have to show that ability. And I think you can't just be stuck doing low independent, smaller movies. Like you can, but to be great, you also have to show the ability to be like a Denzel, where you can come out like more like a blockbuster, kind of a bigger budgeted movie with high expectations and still crush and meet your expectations. You have to show the ability that you can lead the championship team, but you can also come down and do it on a lower level and still help elevate and be attracted to projects that are more artistic and story driven than it is just about the big, hoopla and the fireworks and everything.
Yeah, that's how you get the championship. Be like, you know what?
Exactly,
Drop
man.
40, drop 40. This game, I'm gonna give you a 19 assist.
Exactly.
To get the team
Exactly.
going.
Exactly.
with
man.
the you adding in Saving Private Ryan,
Yeah.
you kind of pulled what I did with Tom Cruise.
Oh, 100%.
Because he's only in the movie for like 2 seconds. He's
He's
adds
Private Ryan.
Yeah,
And half
I
of
know.
it was
He's the
space
title.
aging.
He is the
Half of
title
it was
character.
Space aging.
But he adds nothing to it on an acting level.
Yeah.
Really, he kind of just there. And I did the same thing with Tom Cruise because Tom Cruise was in Young Guns, but he's not even credited in Young Guns. But it's just like
Oh,
he
really?
was in it, and it's a success.
I loved Young Guns.
And it's like I had him in Austin Powers Goldmember. It's like that movie made a lot of money, and he was in it, playing Austin Powers in a movie.
Yes.
It's like so it counts.
That's why I did it. I'm like, he's in the damn title. Like, I gotta give it to him.
But it's what George said.
I love it. No, so see, that makes me feel good. See, I knew I wasn't gonna be alone. I knew we were all gonna stretch this.
Look, I
so,
have
so
another
it's paper
one.
thin.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of honorary mention instead of what's on the queue, and I have one that I'm definitely doing this as well. George, do you want to do your last one?
So yeah, so we mentioned him earlier. I'll show you where I went with them. We mentioned Jim Carrey. Here is what I did for Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey had from 94 to 2000, 11 films.
Okay.
Now I know the
which
questionable.
ones? 'Cause I know some of those are not.
11.
The questionable films
I looked at them.
are going to be The Cable Guy.
That is, I don't count that at all.
All right. The
No,
Cable Guy.
I would count that because I feel
It has
like
a cult following.
hit.
It has a huge cult
I
following.
remember everyone
Yeah.
quoting The Cable Guy and all of that.
I'm a part of it. I think The Cable Guy. I loved it when it came out. I still love it now. Jim Carrey actually puts that as one of the films that he loves the most that he was ever a part of.
He does. I heard that.
So that one is, I know, even Batman Forever. I know people might put that as a stretch, but here's the thing:
great movies, movies.
It made a lot of money. It made a lot of money. So as this thing, we were counting box office and critical.
Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
So I know those are going to be ones where it's like, but it succeeded somewhere. There was a success somewhere, And when you watch it, it's like he's still entertaining. Is he the Riddler? No, he's the Joker. That's who he
Yeah.
really is playing.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's still Jim Carrey.
I do love him
know?
in the movie, and I just remember him
Yeah.
and Ed Begley Jr. get back to work, Edward, and he's putting him in the chair. Remember that when he pushes him outside the window? Like, I still loved him in the movie, man. And whenever sometimes the thing about that movie, Batman Forever, is that it's terrible. It is trash, but I still like going back to it sometimes. I go back to
Tommy
that.
Lee Jones was fun in it too.
Dude, yeah, I go back to that more than I go back to the Star Wars prequels, to be completely honest with you. There's something kind of funny and quirky about that movie.
It's
like,
true.
you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I like sloppy movies. Now, when it comes to Batman and Robin, that's too sloppy.
far.
That's too
Oh,
bad.
Too far.
Went too far. This is too much.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
It's not cool.
It's not cool. Chill.
I'll take a little crispy. That's just burnt.
That's burnt. Yeah.
Now here's what I'll add. He had a second streak. I don't know if you guys believe in the second streak, but I think it's worth.
We're barely believing in the first one. The second one.
Yeah. Wait, those are the only two
that are
borderline
questionable
ones out of the 11 movie streak.
Well, he starts off with Ace Ventura, The Mask,
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber. There's no arguing.
Yeah.
All in 1994, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
In 1 year, he had 3 hit films.
As much as I don't like Dumb and Dumber,
I hate Dumb and Dumber, but I can't deny that everyone else loves it.
You know what? I looked at that streak. To me, it was The Mask, where I was like, I loved it as a kid, but
That was a hit,
man,
though.
it does not. No, 100%, which is why that streak's legit. It's just that's why I didn't end up putting it on this, because I'm like, man, it really didn't age that well. And when you go back, like, it's really not that. In my opinion, it's not as funny anymore.
Oh, see, I argue that it is still hold up. I've
Okay.
watched it again, like last year, or the year before that.
Yeah, I need to. It's been a little
And
while.
because I look at
watched
it
it.
from the mind of a child, like it's live action Looney Tunes.
You have to see it. Yeah,
You know what I
have
mean?
to see it from the mind of a
And
child.
who's better at doing live action Looney Tunes than Jim Carrey?
Literally Jim Carrey.
You know,
I haven't watched that since I was young for that reason, because inside of me, someone was like, this doesn't hold up. I don't want to ruin the memory. So I
Yeah.
have not watched it in a long time.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead,
He's
continue, Josh.
undeniable. So yeah, we hit Batman Forever. It made a lot of money. Ace Ventura 2 still made a lot of money in the box office. Was it as good as the first one? No. But it made money. Yeah. Cable Guy was the cult classic. Liar Liar.
Yeah.
Liar Liar
Love
critically
Liar,
and
Liar.
money.
Absolutely.
Liar Liar
All
for me
day.
is a standout because that I was like what 7th grade, I want to say, and I was really finding my comedic humor.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like his freaking such
Timing.
quick wit with all those scenes. I remember
still
going out in the
I
world
still
and
quote,
doing that.
Yeah, in your bra. That's so great. I was like a little kid quoting that line. Yeah, in your bra. It's like, man, shut
It
up.
was good. It was so great. And Truman Show followed that.
Oh
Okay,
God,
yeah.
yeah.
Great acting
Yeah.
in that. That was for me.
Mhm.
I know you mentioned Dumb and Dumber, but for me, Truman Show, it's like, holy shit, who is this guy? It's like he's not all laughs. Like that was such a serious film. It has funny moments, but I don't ever see it for the funny. It's for that dramatic role that he pumped out.
Eternal
before
Sunshine for me.
Yeah. Oh, those I could tell he could do it the entire time. But even take a movie like Liar Liar, or even in Dumb and Dumber, there was always scenes or moments that you saw him do drama, and it felt very believable.
For sure.
Like you saw potential. Like even in Dumb and Dumber, where he talks about, where he turns to Harry and he mentions, like, you see him kind of tearing up in the window, and he talks about, the dead bird or whatnot. And he talks about how he's tired of just being nothing, and that they're not going to be anything, and this is his one moment to try to feel special of some way and finally chase his dreams. Like, I felt that, man. There was no way in that script that it read like that. That is Jim Carrey absolutely bringing dramaticness that the movie just didn't even deserve or warrant that at all. I was like, whoa, I didn't know he could do it to a whole movie like this.
And that's the
you know
thing.
what I mean?
Exactly. To carry a
man.
whole film and bring it through.
Yes. But
Truman Show brought
Eternal Sunshine was the one I was like,
oh, for sure.
man,
That's a part of streak number 2.
Yes.
Streak number 2 has that. But I'm gonna finish this just to prove my first streak has legs. All right. So then he follows up Truman Show with Man on the Moon to really push that he can be a dramatic actor and just lose himself in a role. Me, Myself, and Irene, box office hit.
Okay,
Probably
yeah.
still one of the last Farley Brothers movies that was decent, in my opinion. And then he finishes off with The Grinch, which again, another box office success.
Absolutely.
No one else could
Mega
be the Grinch like
popular.
him. Where is the
Okay.
flaw? Where is the
It's
flaw
a-
in this 11
yeah.
film streak?
For me, it was Me, Myself, Irene is the one that I don't love. I don't like that movie, but it was successful. So,
Yeah.
like, it counts. I personally just don't love that movie. But, like, I get it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I was trying to keep personal feelings out of it because if personal feelings, man, Tom Cruise wouldn't have had a loss.
Yeah,
He would have had
yeah,
infinite
yeah.
streak.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Okay,
his
all right. That's
second
a legit
streak,
streak.
Bruce Almighty, Eternal Sunshine, Serious Unfortunate Events, and then Fun with Dick and Jane. 4 films. Dick and Jane barely got in there just because it happened to make money. If it didn't make money, I wouldn't have put it.
Okay. All right. So let's do it some quick little honorary if you have like 1 to 2, George. Like I have like 2 I can quickly mention. We don't even have to go to deep discussion about it if you guys
We're not
don't
like
want.
mentioning films or anything like that.
We
No.
can
Right.
if you want to just name them real quick. So like I have so like I'll go first, okay? First one, Arnold.
Wait.
Arnold
That's
had
yeah, I had Arnold. Yeah.
okay. That's a massive run. So he went from
Yeah.
Twins in 1988, Total Recall 1990, Kindergarten Cop 90, Terminator 2 91, Last Action Hero 93, True Lies 94. And then if you want to count Red Heat before that, he's got Predator, Running Man, and Red Heat. That's a long streak
Yeah.
of movies right there. Red Heat's the one where I'm like it was kind of successful, I guess. Like kind of, but like I personally didn't love it, but it is what it is. But regardless, even if you take those 3 out, man, that's a solid 6.
Excuse me.
So that's anywhere from a 6 to a 9 movie streak. That's when Arnold was Arnold. I loved Arnold as a kid, and that was a streak that like solidified it. He was the man. I remember watching his documentary and like he had a long streak of movies that kept opening up at #1, constantly breaking records like in a row, in a row, in a row. And I think it was Last Action Hero, I think, is the one that was the
It
first
kind
one
of
that
had a dip.
it had a
Yeah.
dip, so then that's why he called up, Cameron. They had a personal meeting and they talked about True Lies because Cameron felt like I need to get him back on top again. And then it was True Lies, man.
And then Last Action Hero
Yeah.
became a cult hit.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
arguably it could be in there.
Yeah. So my other one that I wanted to do, then this is where I'm stretching a little bit. So I went with Daniel Kaluuya. Love him. So he had Judas and the Black Messiah, Oscar win, Nope, which I love, and it was still, box office hit. And then the one that I'm stretching is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Mega successful hit. It's voice acting, but again, he
Yeah,
played,
it's acting. It's still acting.
he still
Yeah.
played one of the coolest, raddest characters that was in the movie, so like I loved him in it. So that's the streak that I go with. And he had an Oscar win during that streak.
I had Denzel also, but I didn't write the movies down because he does have, a small.
Oh,
I
big
went
time.
through Denzel and I couldn't find a streak of 3. There was always
No?
one movie that
But,
cut into
I
it.
didn't look because I really thought Jose was going to mention them for sure.
Me
I
too.
did.
That's why
I
I
went
didn't.
through it. I went
Yeah.
through it and I'm like, damn it, this movie cut in. Then I'll
Yeah.
find another 2 and then damn it, this movie cut in.
Yeah, because we saw I can make things happen. I got the magic touch. I can make
I have
Denzel
2
work.
that are solid that
Okay.
count. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
The
Yeah,
one that was
that's-
harder, I wanted to put Sylvester to compete with Arnold, but his was actually a little harder. Like he would have a movie that you never heard of. It's like, oh shit, you did some piece of shit in between Rambo and freaking Rocky. What are you doing, man?
Yeah, man. Dang it. If he would have just kept that, like that's why it helps to limit your roles. And that's how you could tell with the greater actors is because it's not the quantity, it's the quality. They
Yeah.
take their time and they do it.
Yeah.
What I did notice when I was looking through here, because of course going to IMDb to look through their list,
Yeah.
it was crazy. You see like Matt Damon, it was like 99 projects as an actor. And then you go like Leo and it's like 45 projects like as an actor. And you see that huge difference in projects that are out there. So I feel like that was something that I didn't expect, such a big discrepancy in number of projects between some of these actors. Like you think Samuel
Yeah.
Jackson, you're gonna be high. You think Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage, is gonna be up there. But then other actors that are not far off on level, and then you see they're like bubble up in projects sometimes.
So thank you for going streaking with us. You can watch, subscribe, comment on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Not a Strong Start. I'm your host. We're going streaking. You can follow me at King_Sangre.
Because streaking is always better as a team activity.
Yes.
He's on fire. And you can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
And I am your other guy. You can't stop now, and we won't stop now. Following me at Nicolopolis.
See, this can all be combined because if we're on fire, then our clothes are burned off and we're going streaking. And then if we can't stop now, then we shouldn't stop because otherwise our skin's going to burn. So just keep streaking and keep running.
Yeah. It's a story. It's a story.
Yeah.
Yep. And we just hit the trilogy, my friends.